I'd like to welcome you back to the channel. So we have with us today a man by the name of Jim Lorenzo, who, among other things, has a very interesting business called Blood Manor. Now, the thing is, well, first of all, how you doing?
I'm well. How about yourself, Ari?
Thank you. God bless. So the thing is, what I found interesting about this interview is that usually I do as much research as I possibly can before I do the interview. I mean, that's what would make sense, right? But I decided that with Blood Manor, I would take a wild guess and then we would see how close I am. And then we would go through what the business is about during the conversation. My guess, with absolutely no research, is that it's like a haunted house, but without the amusement park or the carnival. How did I do?
You did very well. But yeah, you did very well. Would you
Good.
like me to give you a little bit of a description of what we are?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I thought
So
it'd be more fun this way.
yeah, Blood Manor, as we've tagged ourselves, we're New York's premier haunted attraction. Okay. So what we do is we basically take you from whatever environment you are in, walking down Broadway, or when we were on 27th Street or Varick Street. And we basically take you from the streets of New York and we engross you and put you inside of what's called a haunted attraction or a haunted house. Okay, but we start from the first moment you step onto our block. We'll have performers outside. We'll have the outside of the building is decorated to give it an eerie, haunted effect and an attraction. I have actors on the lines and so on and so forth, and no one ever breaks character. So we're in character the entire time. And from the moment you walk through the front door, you'll walk through a front doorway, you'll go down a hallway, you'll go down a flight of stairs, you'll get queued up to go into the actual haunt. But from the moment you step through that first door, it's game on. Actors, performers, even though you're not into the traditional part of the haunted house, you're in our world and we're already all over you. We smell blood in the water. Okay, we know who's frightened, who's, who thinks they're going to be okay to get through, and our actors are incredible. They have a tremendous sense of who the weaker link in the crew is, and they just murder them.
Okay, so let me see if I get this straight because I already got so many questions. Is it one location or it moves around?
Nope. We've been in 3 locations in the past 20 years. This will be
Oh,
our
okay,
20th season. This is our 20th anniversary. And your good friend, Ari Waldman, was the
right.
gentleman that actually got us our third home. We were on 27th Street with all the nightclubs back in the day, 20 years ago. Guest House, Home, Kane, Spirit, Crowbar. They were all there. We were in the same building as Spirit, Guest House, and Home. We shared a door with Guest House and Alex Gray. You know the famous artist Alex Gray.
Hmm.
Alex Gray was on the 4th floor. We were on the 5th floor, and Spirit, Guest House, and Home are on the 3 lower floors. So back in the day when we first started, it was a pretty wild block, to say the least.
Okay,
8 nightclubs and a haunted house in October. Insanity.
so how do the neighbors feel? Meaning, if they're in character and they're taking over
There,
the whole block.
everybody played well in the sandblocks. The nightclub owners, everybody did a very good job. Hold on one second. Someone's coming in. I want to tell them not to right now. Sorry. I live down in Long Beach and we just had a storm and the storm just cleared out. So the kids are jumping in the pool and some of them wanted to come back in the house. So I told them, no, stay outside. Go swim.
You
So
gotta
I'm sorry, where
authorize
were
that
we?
control.
Go ahead, where were we?
No, I was just saying that that's interesting. If you're taking over a whole block, that the neighbors got to be pretty cool with it. You have to have
Well, it was
some.
all nightclubs. It was all nightclubs back in the day. So everybody on this, they would close the street down. Back in the day, when we first started Blood Manor and we were cutting our teeth, okay, when they would shut the street down, I had hired a company. They were a hook squad. Okay, my friend Spliff wasn't my. It was he became a close friend. But Spliff had this insane troupe of performers that were hook squads. They would hang themselves with shark hooks through their body.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we'd hang them from the scaffold. We'd have cages outside in the street. The streets were closed to traffic. They would go up and down the street pulling a sled with hooks in their back with people on it. They would walk the line and entertain people. And if you liked them, you would take a T-50 staple gun and staple money to them.
Oh my
So
God.
it was insanity before you even walk through the door. And then
And you
once
guys worked in unison, or you just had
they
something in
worked for
common?
me. They worked
Oh,
for me. I hired them. They were fantastic. They were
yeah.
great. They were a very important part of the whole mystique of what took place at Blood Manor. Okay. And back in the day, in the 70s, 80s, and into the 90s, I was the disc jockey that started a very famous property called the Bordy Barn out in the Hamptons. Okay. It was the biggest happy hour in the country, and probably the most successful and the most popular. And I was the impetus that started that. And it was always wanting to leave them more. We would close the doors at 8 o'clock, throw everybody out, and reopen at 10 o'clock. And people would be like, why wouldn't you just keep the people all day long, keep them
Right.
into the night? And the theory and the mindset was always leave them wanting more. And that's
Yeah.
the same thing we did at Blood Manor. Okay. We're not the longest or the biggest. We're one of the scariest in the country without using Mother Nature as the backdrop. When you
Right.
go out to the field and out to the woods and you do it's a little bit easier to scare the crap out of people. When you
If you
walk
guys
off
are
the
in
street,
the concrete jungle.
right, when you walk off the street of Manhattan and then bam, you have to be transformed into, okay, I'm in a haunted environment. It's pretty wild. And the building itself is actually haunted. If you look back on 359 Broadway, Matthew Brady, the famous world Civil War photographer, photographed Abraham Lincoln there for the $5 bill, and photographed every single old Civil War battle, and displayed those images, those horrible, gruesome images, in that building on the third floor, which was his studio, and he lived on the second floor. And as soon as we took over the space and people started to hear about us going there, I started getting email after email. Did you really go to 359? That building is haunted. And if you look back through Google and this, that, and the other
Did you
thing,
plan it that way?
no, I had no idea. We just needed a new home. We needed a new home, and this is how it worked out. And your man Ari found us our new home. So we've had mediums come in, and they always feel the same presence. We've had ghost sight. We've had all kinds of wacky stuff in the building.
Wow.
You could feel the presence. They're not part of the show. Our show is separate from the
Right.
spirits that are in the building, but there's absolutely spirits.
That's right. So he got the perfect customer for the building.
And it's a perfect match for us and them.
What's interesting is that coming into this interview, I thought that you were a businessman, and this was just one of the things that you do. Maybe it doesn't even take that much of your mind, but it sounds like you really get a kick out of this.
Well, I've been an event producer I was a disc jockey, a very, very successful, famous disc jockey. Like I said, the biggest places out in the Hamptons and Hunter Mountain and so on and so forth. And in 2000, 2001, 2002, I started to grow a sport around the country and around the world called beach tennis, which was all volley tennis played in the sand. Okay. And we were rocking, we were rolling. We did 40 broadcasts on the Tennis Channel. We were on the Today Show. We did a lot of very cool stuff. So I've always been very blessed in doing cool, fun, exciting things to do.
Right.
And I had a client come to me and wanted to do a huge Halloween party. I mean, I worked for Philip Morris producing their events. I unveiled their race cars. I did TV broadcasts. I did a ton of stuff. So when Blood Manor came to fruition, it was basically, I had a client that wanted to do an insane Halloween party at their house. We did that for a bunch of years. I was managing Spirit Guest House and Homes event space, the private event side of the business.
Okay.
And after my Halloween party stopped, I was like, let's try doing this in Manhattan. So we took one floor, from Robbie Wooten, who was the owner of Spirit. and we put Blood Manor in there. And the first weekend it was, it was just as ghostly in the haunt as it was outside because there was nobody there. In the first weekend, if we did
Oh
200
boy.
people, it was a lot, And then the second weekend was Columbus Day weekend, which is a longer weekend. We did a few people, nothing really happened. And then the newspaper came out and they wrote an article about this great haunted house that came to New York City.
Right.
And following Friday, I came down and it was pouring rain. And when you look from our door on 27th Street and you look uptown and a little bit towards the east, you'd see the Empire State Building. And the Empire State Building is getting hit with lightning as I'm standing there. And it's in clouds and it's eerie and terrible out. And I look down the block and there's a couple of thousand people online with umbrellas ready to come into Blood Manor. And the lines have been around the block ever since.
That's amazing.
27th Street for 7 years. We left, and my good friend Arthur Kapachian that owns Sleep No More took over our space and took over the whole building, and they produced a show, Sleep No More, in the old Blood Manor space. Arthur does a great job there. It's a different type of show. It's eerie and spooky, but it's not a haunted house. And I love going to Sleep No More. I've been there several times. Then we moved from 27th Street down to Varick Street. We were there for 7 years. The building got sold. And now we're over at 359 Broadway in Tribeca with a 10-year lease. And we'll definitely be looking to renew sooner than later because we're about 5 years into it. We have a fantastic relationship with our landlord, and the neighbors love us. We bring excitement to the neighborhood.
Well, what time do you shut down?
Between Canal Street and the Federal Building, there's a little area of Broadway where it gets a little quiet and it gets a little bit, there's not a lot of street traffic and stuff, and we're right in the middle of that. We're great neighbors. We invite our neighbors to come in. We open up on Halloween just for kids during the day, and we do trick or treat throughout the haunted house for free. So we're in the fiber of the community. We were very, very proactive throughout COVID. We did the right thing. The local newspaper in Tribeca wrote an article that they thought that, how could they be opening up during COVID? And I invited the editor and the owner, and she came through and she absolutely was blown away. And she was like, "You guys are so on top of your game." It was, she was very, very impressed by what we did. And I'm very proud of what we do. I took all of the different
awesome.
that I learned throughout the event business and doing events for MB&A back in the day for 3,000-4,000 people, and another event for 25,000. I took 25,000, 30,000 people. I took all of that knowledge that I had, entertainment from the music side of it. We did lighting and light shows and stuff like that. I built nightclubs. We took all of those elements and I kind of molded them into what Blood Manor became. And it's a fantastic show. It's a fantastic show.
Let me ask you, do you have groupies?
We have followers. We have folks that have been coming for years and come back year after year after year. We have a lot of, first timers that come through the space. A lot of people return, a lot of people come back.
What are your hours like? You said you're good neighbors. Are you up all night?
No. We open at 7. Listen, on certain nights we'll open at 7:00. We close at 11. Okay.
Oh, okay.
We're only there. Listen, we're only open on an average of 23 days a year.
Really?
Yeah.
And you're paying all that rent in Manhattan for 23 days?
We pay all that rent. We pay our entire staff of probably over 100. We have actors. We have makeup and wardrobe. We have security. We have retail staff. We have management, producers, directors. We pay every bill that we have, and we make a couple of shekels.
Wow. Okay. Shekels. You got me. So,
I'm a nice Italian boy. I'm a nice Italian boy from Brooklyn originally.
What's that?
I'm a nice Italian boy from Greenpoint, Brooklyn originally.
I
And
got you. Yeah, I grew
yeah,
up in Flatbush too. Now in Long Beach, you have a big Jewish community out in Long Beach now too.
very big. Yep, yep, yep. Actually, my partner is Orthodox. My partner Ed Shirazian is
Nice.
is an Orthodox Jew, and I can tell you one thing: if you decide to go into a business in
Right.
October, an Orthodox Jewish partner is probably not the best choice because he's always off. He's off every Friday, and there's all
Right.
these Jewish holidays all the time. But
No,
he's a
but the
great
trick is
partner.
to follow his lead and have faith. That's the trick.
I believe you. I do
Let
have
me ask
faith.
you another question.
Go ahead.
Sometimes people get pulled into their lifestyle. If you're surrounded by this, you mentioned that you even, that there have been ghost sightings. Do you believe in like more than what the average guy that you look like? If somebody bumped into you in the street, you probably are a little bit more colorful than people expect.
Um, do I believe in ghosts? Do I believe in spirits? Is that what you're
Yes.
asking me?
Yes.
I absolutely believe in life after death.
Okay.
I had a tragedy in my life. My oldest boy passed away from colorectal cancer at the age of 36 years old, Joseph Lorenzo.
Sorry to hear that.
And he comes to me every day, all the time. So I know that there's a spirit out there. You know, my son painted his room checkerboard from when he was a little boy, okay, and got married in checkerboard Van sneakers and blah, 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 blah. And I see checkerboards all the time. People get out of taxi cabs wearing a checkerboard outfit coming to Blood Manor. I'll be talking to someone and I'll be talking because everybody every day gets to know about my son and who my son was. Oh, and I'll be
Right.
talking to someone, I'll be talking to you, let's say in a restaurant, and all of a sudden somebody will walk in and they'll sit down and they'll have a checkerboard pocketbook. Or they'll kick up a skateboard going down the street and the bottom of it will be checkerboard. You know, and there's many things that tie me to my son. And I recently had a beautiful piece of art created
Right.
in my home. I hired a young artist, Jordana, and she's also Orthodox from the Jewish community, and a wonderful
We're
artist.
everywhere, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Good for you. Let me
I'm
see
trying to
if
look around my room. I don't see anything checkerboard, but
okay. Yeah, you will. You'll see checkerboards in the
well,
next.
now
How
that
do
you
I?
put it in my mind, I'm sure I will.
Okay, yeah. So I have to turn to do it because I don't know how to do that. So behind me,
Oh wow.
can you see that painting up there?
Oh wow.
So everything on there is my son.
That
From
was his whole personality.
that was everything about Joseph. There was, the ska performer. He had that tattooed on his leg. I took him to Woodstock '99. He
Nice.
would have Chips Ahoy every single night with milk and cookies. So it was a collaboration of a modern piece of art that we created for him.
That's
And
awesome.
I definitely, and I've believed, but now I really believe, because you'll see
I
checkerboards.
know. So how old would he be if he was alive?
His passing is going to be 3 years this August 18th.
Maybe 42,
Nope, he was passed at 36. He'll be 39.
36. I'm
Just turning,
30.
yeah, he'll be turning 40 next year. Wonderful. Married a beautiful young lady, Allison, my daughter-in-law. Jewish girl, very nice. And
Forget
we're
about the
about that.
checkerboards. You're surrounded by Judaism.
That's okay. It's all good. Christians, Jews, Italians, and Jews, we all get along very well.
We all get clean sidewalks, clean neighborhoods.
Yes, exactly. We're gonna have, I guess they would call it it would be a good thing's a mitzvah, right? When something good
A
happens.
mitzvah.
So
Yep.
my daughter-in-law is going to get pregnant with the sperm that they saved for my son. So
Oh wow.
we're gonna have a new baby in our life sometime in the next year.
Oh beautiful. I can just guess the baby's name.
Joseph or Josephine. We didn't
Right.
get. We can pick. We could choose the sex, but we chose not to.
Right.
We'll
Right.
leave
Oh
that in God.
wow. Oh wow. That's fascinating.
Yep.
Wow.
So
Anyways,
you didn't think that this interview about Blood Manor was going to take you on this journey, did you?
I'll be honest with you. I'm not surprised. I did not. I'm not going to lie, but I'm not surprised because, like I told you, I literally said for this, I'm gonna prepare by not preparing, and I trust that this man is just gonna, I don't know, because this, I mean, what you do is highly unusual because for a couple of reasons. I mean, if you think about it, right, it's not the norm. It's not like you have a bank or a plumbing supply or something like that. But then on the other hand, it's entertainment, but it's nothing. It's not like a club or a bar. It's like its own genre. It doesn't fit with anything else. You found the one guy that you can mesh with, a guy who hooks stuff into his body, which
And
I
I found him at Alex Gray's studio. Alex Gray is a very famous artist, and his grandfather was Gray's Anatomy, not the TV show, but the actual book of Gray's Anatomy. Okay,
gotcha.
which is the body. Okay, it's the study of the body. Right. If you saw the show that traveled around the country and around the world, The Body, that was kind of what Alex Gray's grandfather's whole story was. And Alex took that whole thing and created an art form out of it, and had a very strong following of folks that would come to his studios, which was the entire floor on the fourth floor. And they would come to his show. And when there was a full moon, people from around the world would come to Alex's studio for full moon events. And during October, during our show, every year there'd be at least one full moon event. And when I got to be close with Alex and his wife, and I went up to the studio, and I'm in the studio, and they have these people hanging from hooks, and they have this small person that they have on hooks, and they're throwing him around the room on a bungee like a ball. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to have these guys working for me outside. And
Yeah.
Spliff, the fella, he actually passed away in a car accident, probably 10 years into Blood Manor when he passed. And it was just, it just was right. It was like the perfect storm. All the elements fell in place for Blood Manor
Beautiful.
to get this fantastic mystique about it, you know. And we don't listen. We scare people. We do a really good job about it. We don't touch
Well,
people. We don't touch them.
right.
We don't tie them up. We don't put them in a box. We don't do any physical.
But you get in their private space.
We get into their space, and we have fantastic actors, and we feel that it needs to be a lot of things. It needs to be scary. It needs to be spooky. It needs to be, you need to laugh at certain things. You got to
Right.
laugh at your friends. Okay. You got to scream. We've had thousands of people wet their pants. So we give out
Really?
shirts that say, I pissed my pants at Blood Manor.
Is there an age? Do you have to be over a certain age?
I mean, we suggest 12 and up, with a parent, we prefer.
But it depends on the kid, I guess.
Listen, we have parents come with young children. I have one family that comes, that's the seven sisters, and the mom has been bringing them. And the youngest one, when they first came, was probably 3 years old in a stroller.
Oh
Okay,
my
now
gosh.
they're all high school, college, or college graduates. Okay,
Right.
two of them went to the University of Shanghai in China. I mean, brilliant, super smart kids, wonderful kids, the seven sisters, as they're called, as we call them. And they're, so I guess they would be part of a groupie group. They've been coming since they were babies.
There you go.
And yeah, I mean, so there was a lot of things have fell in the right direction, because you have to be lucky and you have to be good. You have
Right.
to have good landlords. You have to have, you have to be committed. Okay. And a lot of the things that I had very good partners in the beginning that were different from my partner, Ed. Jim Farrow was one of my partners, and there was another fella, Mike, that I kind of found when I was putting together the private parties, when I put
Right.
together my first private party, and we became partners. And, so we all worked really, really hard, and we were very fortunate. We've had so much press. It's unbelievable. Dr. Oz came and put monitors on people to see how they got scared, and every network, NBC,
Amazing.
ABC, Fox, Pix, everybody.
And
then
now me.
and now you. And the biggest piece of marketing that ever took place for us was when Jimmy Fallon and Kevin Hart came.
I had a feeling Jimmy Fallon, the name was about to come up.
And Jimmy Fallon and Kevin Hart went through Blood Manor, and then they showed the video clip on the Tonight Show, which was unbelievable. And it was the same time that Hillary and Donald were going at it, and they were
Right.
the number one trending item on social media until
And you still
Fallon
got in
video.
there.
Yeah, we for 3 days we were the number one trending social media component.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it's had hundreds of millions of views now.
Amazing.
Hundreds of
Jim, you and I, we could keep on talking. We got to cut this short at some point. Well, can't cut this short. It's too late for that. But I'm looking forward to meeting you in real person. And I challenge you, God willing, I'll bring my wife. Maybe we'll bring Ari and his wife. And
Oh, we'll scare the crap out of you.
yeah, okay. I challenge you. Give
No
give it a
problem.
shot.
No
But
problem.
thank you
Just
so much.
make sure you bring a Depends with you to wear, because we don't want you to wear your pants. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. We listen, it's always good to meet new people
Absolutely.
and to share stories and
Absolutely. No, I'm looking forward. I'm going to do some research now that we had to talk. Thanks again.
My pleasure. You have a great night. Enjoy
You
and have a
too.
wonderful summer.
You too.
Bye-bye.